Hey guys, so we all know I love Death Note. Honestly, I could make an entire channel dedicated to Death Note if I wanted to. But I was kind of thinking about it, and there's a true victim in all of this in the story of Death Note. And I'm not talking about the victims of Kira. You actually could say this person is a victim, not killed by Kira, but definitely affected by him. Um, and truly tragic story of her. We're not talking about Misa. We're talking about the actual victim here, that no one seems to bring up. Light's mom, Sachiko Yagami. Now, when we see her, she seems to be a very caring, loving, attentive mother who cares very much for her husband, for her two children. Um, you know, she has no problem doing things for Lights. Between keeping secrets from his father, or making tea late at night because Light has Misa, over there. And so she seems to be a very caring person. And she chose to be a housewife. Obviously, Soichiro is a police officer, deputy director. So long nights, long hours, barely comes home. So she chose the housewife role because someone has to take care of the kids. Not holding it against him because she knows that it comes with the territory. You're a deputy director, you're going to be working quite a while. And she seems perfectly content with her life. But when you come to the end of the story, you realize that she's the true victim of the story. So, because of Kira, because of her own son, her daughter gets kidnapped by Mello. After her daughter is rescued, she's basically in a state of shock, and we can see her. Actually, I think they have a picture of it here. Um, oh no, I think it's Sayu's. Yeah, Sayu. Um, so she gets rescued, and then you just saw it. This is what happens. Her daughter is in a state of shock because of all the terrible crap that went on, and we don't know what actually went on in the full amount of time because time skipping and stuff. She's a young girl. Maybe some assaulting of some kind. I don't know if Mello is into that kind of thing, but I know his thugs certainly would be. But so she's attending to her essentially shell shocked daughter. um So after her daughter gets kidnapped, comes back, she's in a state of shock, has to tend to her daughter. Her husband is killed, and then her son is killed. This is true. Now, if you remember what Ryuk said about people who have come in contact with a Death Note, that they usually live a life of pain, fear, and misery. She never came in contact with the Death Note. She didn't know what the Death Note was, and yet her life is more tragic and full of more misery than Light's was, than anyone else's. She has a daughter who goes into shock, who she has to tend to. She has a husband who dies and has a son who dies. She is the true victim of Death Note. She is the true victim here. All she tried to do was be a good, caring mother, and yet Kira, or rather her own son, that's the other part of it. All of this happened because of her son. She didn't know any of this. So all this pain, misery, suffering, it's because of her own son. Put yourself in her position. Imagine losing everything because of your own son. Because he decided to go on this crusade of, the god of the new world and punishing the wicked. She's the true victim here. Not Light, not Misa, not L, not. She's the real victim here. She just wanted to be a wife. She wanted to be a housewife. She wanted to raise and take care of her kids. She wanted to see them, go off and become, productive members of society and do great things. But no, instead, she has a husband who dies, a son who dies, and a daughter who most likely will never be the same ever again. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone really take the time and talk about her character and how tragic her character actually is. She doesn't die. Nothing ever bad happens to her. But everything around her falls apart. When she had nothing to do with the Death Note, like I said, she didn't know what it was. She had never touched it. She never knew what Ryuk looked like. She never, none of that. And yet, her life fell apart more than anyone else's. And how old is she? Information 46 to 47. And when Soichiro died, he was 52, which means halved. Actually, if okay, so Soichiro died when he was like 52. And when you take the Shinigami deal, your life is halved. So which means he would have had a long life. He would have lived a while. Um to like a normal age. So if he had like 20 years left, or rather, no, actually, no, if half of his remaining lifespan, so he died 52. So yeah, he still would have he would have lived a while, but he died 52, which is too young. But pretty much as soon as he made the ideal, you're like, yeah, he's gonna die. He is gonna die. He's already older. So if you're gonna be like 50 years old and you're gonna have your life, you're gonna die. You're not gonna live much longer than that. But yeah, the unsung hero of the story, the woman who just did everything well. She lived her best life. She tried to be a great mother, and yet Light, being the fucking douchebag he had no problem. He was considering killing his father. He was considering killing his sister. I mean, I'm pretty sure he considered killing his mother. Um, that would have been the real tragedy if she actually died. I think that's the kind of silver lining of all this tragic stuff that happened to her. She's still there, but then it's also kind of a bad thing because now she's got to live her life without her son, without her husband, and a daughter who will possibly never be the same again. So, but Sachiko Yagami, she's a good lady, and she is truly the victim of all this. Never touched a Death Note, and yet she has more pain, misery, and suffering than anyone else. Like, I know Misa had her parents killed, and Misa killed herself at the end. But when you kind of pan out and look at the broader picture, she is truly the real victim of the story. But anyways, what do you guys think? Let me know. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.